National championship winning fullback, Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 on your radio dial. The Martin Houston Show show can also be seen on Martin Houston Live on Facebook and YouTube. Also at Martin Houston 35 on Twitter. You can also find us at Tide 109 on Facebook. Hey, we're so glad that you've chosen to make us a part of your morning routine as we get things going. This is the Martin Houston Show. It's your show, your team, the sound of Bama sports. Come on, get with it. Give us a call at 205 342 9904. 205 342 9904. The Taco Casa hotline is open for business. And today, of course, we're going to be talking a little March Madness as the brackets are officially out there. How you feeling about the Crimson Tide being a number 6 seed? Of course, with the way they ended the season, 3 losses in a row. A little controversy around them getting in maybe as a 6 seed without directly being called out. Other coaches saying if they're a 6 seed, how in the world can they not be in the tournament at all? Kind of have to agree with them. Texas A&M making a lot of noise in the tournament, in the SEC tournament. But Tennessee, SEC champion. So Alabama basketball, the mystery of the season. What will they do? We can talk about that if you'd like to. And of course, the big news is the Alabama Crimson Tide started spring practice. Got a little bit of insight into what's happening from thoughts on the offensive line, players being out for injury, competition, and we're going to get to some thoughts from Coach Nick Saban here in just a moment. So I want to remind you that this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. And once again, want to invite you to get in on the conversation. We'll continue some of that thought process as we look into the football season. Had a couple guys ask, I asked a question on Friday. If you're the coach for a day and could only watch one position, we had a couple thoughts there, O-line, tight end, and ironically, that was a lot of the conversation coming out from spring to O-line, and then, of course, news over the weekend as Alabama adds another tight end position player. It's a preferred walk-on from a young man from Briarwood. So undoubtedly Nick Saban's looking at that tight end room as well. And then, of course, we have news regarding, as I said, a couple players being out. 2 of those players, I think we're going to play heavily into the mix of rebuilding this new 2022 version of the Alabama Crimson Tide and Ja'Cory Brooks and Dalcourt. But like I said, all of that conversation and more. And I felt like the best way to start things off is to hear from the greatest coach. This is a little longer than I normally play audio, but since this is the first one of the season, let's get Coach Nick Saban and what he had to say following day one of the opening practice.
The attitude that this team has sort of presented, the work that we were able to get done, the conditioning level that we were able to achieve with a lot of the guys. I think the commitment has been good. So we had a really good off-season program. I think the most important thing about the first practice is um, I don't care what grade you're in, how long you've been here, whether you're an early enrollee, whether you're a senior. Um, Everybody has got to focus on what they need to do to improve. So this is a good starting point for us. We're not disappointed where we are, but we're certainly not satisfied with where we are, where we want to go, and how we're going to get there. But everybody has to have the ability to self-assess because I think that's the best way to improve. And there's not one player out there that's playing for us right now that doesn't have something that they can improve on. Obviously, it's a new team. You're looking for new leadership. There's guys that have opportunities at several positions, and there's competition at those positions. And it'll be interesting to see how some of that stuff shakes out for us. But we got a couple of guys that are going to be out for the spring. So Corey Brooks is out for the spring. Darian Dalcourt will be out for the spring. Keanu Coate, all those guys are out for the spring, whether they have injuries coming out of the season or whatever. All the other players are doing some portion of practice and are making some progress toward being able to practice at some point in time in the spring. And those assessments will be made, as they make progress, throughout the spring. I know you probably asked me about the early enrollees. I'm sure if you got to speak to them, they'll tell you that there's a lot of anxiety. My first practice as a college player. They're all sort of, going through a different level of a learning curve that they have to go through. And, we're pleased to have them here. I think it's going to be good for their development. And I think, some of these guys will be able to contribute to our team. We also have, 3 transfers, all of which I think will, create a role on the team for themselves. They were all impressive out there today. You're talking about older guys who have played in this league or in the ACC, and I think those 3 guys will be very helpful for us. I'm excited about the new coaches that we have. Every one of those guys have made a very positive contribution with their energy, enthusiasm, their knowledge, how they help contribute to solving some of the issues and the problems that we sort of uncovered in self-scout in terms of things that we need to improve on. So we're excited about the staff. We're excited about the new enrollees. We're excited about the transfers. Nobody likes it that you have guys that can't go out there and practice, but we also have to think about how we're going to get these guys ready to play next season. So all in all, I'm very encouraged by sort of the effort, energy, attitude that the players have had, and it's a fun group to coach.
As Coach Nick Saban talking about this spring, had a lot to say there that we'll break down throughout the morning. But a couple of things that kind of jumped out to me that I want to get to. But once again, I want to invite you if you want to get in on the conversation and give us a call this morning. You can call us on the Taco Casa hotline at 205-342-9904. That without a doubt, one of the things he talked about was an injured player. So I want to talk about something he said there that's of interest. Also, we wondered about the coaching staff and the changes, and he didn't hesitate, waste any time letting us know that there were some weaknesses within the coaching staff, which led to the changes that they made through self-scouting. So that's big news. One of the things that he pointed out that they'll be looking for is new leadership in this team. And this team very well could be, have 2 of the best returning leaders ever, but is that enough? And of course, referring to Bryce Young on the offensive side of the ball, Will Anderson on the defensive side of the ball. But will they need more leadership than those 2 guys if this team is going to rise to the level of a championship? And then he also talked a little bit about attitude and conditioning and said that there's a great conditioning off-season program and that they had a great off-season. So we're going to break down all of those. So I want to give you a chance to think through. Did you hear anything in that Nick Saban audio that made you go, oh, that's an interesting thought at this point? Was there anything shocking or anything worthwhile for you to talk about? If so, go ahead and prepare to give us a call at 205-342-9904. We'll give you a chance to make that phone call during the break. 205-342-9904. This is the Monday morning edition of the Martin Houston Show. We're live, local, and ready to take your call, ready to interact with you. If you like, you can bring up the March Madness as well. 205-342-9904. The Martin Houston Show will return in just a moment.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, no active wrecks. Everything pretty quiet as we start this Monday morning. It is spring break at the university, so maybe traffic will be a little bit calmer. If you see conditions, just give me a call. Check out the great selection of fuel-efficient vehicles now at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. I'm Captain Ray.
File in a way that fits you and get the refund you deserve. Jackson Hewitt Tax Pros can help you discover thousands worth of new tax credits so you get every dollar you deserve. Learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
Work is how do you make the most of your mom? Tony and Melissa do it on a John Deere Z530M
Mason, I hadn't talked to you since that disappointing loss to the Vanderbilt Commodores, and just so typical with Alabama this season. What were your thoughts as you watched this Alabama team lose that game to Vanderbilt? Here we go again.
You hit the nail on the head right there. Here we go again. That's how I felt the whole time. I wanted to have faith in them going into it, but the whole day leading up to it, I just, back of my head kept telling me, we're just not going to lose. And then, sure enough, here we are today. We lost the game. So I just don't know what to make of these guys, man. I'm almost ready to just get to next year. We got some new guys coming in, a bunch of new, really exciting talent. I'm ready to just kind of look forward to next season.
Joe said that he doesn't think our three guards like each other. Davidson, Quinley, and Shackelford. That they don't help each other. They don't make each other better. And that's part of the reason they, to the turnovers and the lack of team play, et cetera. So that's an interesting take. I hadn't really thought about it. Something's off on this team, and you either have to say it's coaching or it's something like what like we just said.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something. I definitely think Joe is onto something a little bit there with maybe the guards not liking each other a little bit. It seems, just watching them, watching the body language and watching the way they kind of interact with each other on the court, it seems like there's a little bit of tension there for sure.
Yeah. Well, and of course in that game, the two older guys got in foul trouble. And what's the name played pretty good. He didn't turn the ball over, Davidson. But when they got walked down by 15, from 15, I was like, man, what will this see? And I'm still trying to stay like CJ Watts. I'm still trying to stay on the bandwagon, man. But my right foot is dragging big time, and it's about to pull me off. But I want to see Nate Oates. This is something I really do want to see. I want to see Nate Oates do something in this tournament. Now, this is not a question whether Nate Oates has a good system or not, but few years in, Mason, it seems that the coaches have figured it out. I'm just being honest. Is the turnovers all our players, or are they got a certain way they do things? And the good defensive minded coaches seem to have Alabama's number. And even when they're not, necessarily great teams, they play us well. And some of the better teams, I think that they can just beat us. And I think that's why we may have had some success. But when you clamp us down on defense, you can turn us over really, really easy by jumping lanes, a lot of loose ball, throwaways, live ball, turnovers, etc. So we'll watch them. I'm not as excited as I was about this team, but I'll be right there pulling them on as they get things started in the tournament, and we'll go from there. Were you shocked by anything that happened in the SEC tournament?
I don't want to say I was shocked just because of the way that Texas A&M came and played Alabama, and then second to last game of the year. But the way that they just made a run there in the SEC tournament was very impressive. That team was they were playing for a bid, and it was fun to watch. Like they were just playing hard.
Yeah, this was something I heard that I found interesting. It says that when on SEC Now, the guy said the said they were not going to be swayed by the last 10 games of the season. The committee, and to me, that's crazy to think that they're not swayed by the last 10 games of the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That's baffling when it's all about conference play, and that's where you really can tell, where you can see teams playing the same teams and how they match up with the same teams. So it's not just a random matchup one off, like Alabama may match up great against a non-conference opponent, one non-conference opponent that's really good and dominant in their league, but don't match up well in their own league. And and if you look, I think Texas A&M had a 8-game losing streak at one point, and then they turned it around. And outside of that 8-game losing streak, they lost 4 other games. I mean, that's a good basketball team. If they, with the way they ended the season, that was they had a style that they figured out and they got it right, and they were. I mean, why I didn't get to see them play an entire game like in the tournament, but I saw bits and pieces, and it's just a tenacious style of play. Anyway, it was interesting that Alabama goes in the way they did. Yeah. Anyway, hey, one quick question before we get back over to some football. Maybe one quick question. Uh, what do you think about Mike White leaving Florida to go to Georgia?
That's certainly an interesting move. It seems like the kind of general notion with that Georgia job is that if you can just break into Atlanta there, like the talent is in Georgia. You just have to break into Atlanta and be able to get some of it, because that was kind of, it seemed like that was kind of Tom Crean's issue, is he just couldn't keep the kids that were there. He couldn't get them to come to Georgia, and he couldn't get the kids that did come to Georgia to stay there. So I think it's certainly interesting. I think there's a lot that you can do with that Georgia job. It's just whether or not you can break into the recruiting there.
Well, look at it. What's the kids? Isn't there a kid on Georgia? A kid on Georgia. I mean, on Wheeler was on Georgia's team, right?
Yes.
Was Johnson on Georgia's team last year from
J.D.
Auburn?
Johnson, he was as well, yes.
Yes, and Kessler
Kessler was at
is a legacy Georgia player, right? His dad played at Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, and he transferred from North Carolina to Auburn. But uh, that that's interesting. Uh, of course, C.J. Watson said that's a move made by a man that was about to be fired, in my opinion. So he think that Florida was about to fire Mike White. Hey, great. That could be a great point. But let me tell you,
certainly a bit of a letdown here for Florida.
I think Mike White can be a good coach. So, but here's one of those things. I was thinking before, I didn't know anything about the hire from Mike White at the time, but I thought, Florida, when Florida was good, a football school, when it was good, it had a really good basketball coach. And of course, we're going back into the Urban Meyer years when they were good on the court and won a couple national championships in basketball. Football was really good, and it helped to bring about the resources and more for basketball. Alabama, we look like we're trying to get there again here with Nate Oates. Of course, you disappointed with the season, but the first time in how long have we had back-to-back trips to the big dance? So disappointing season for Alabama, but progress, right? Nevertheless, it's still progress. And I thought, if Georgia figures out how to get good in basketball, it'll only help their football program. Because kids like to go to school, Mason, where when their season is not going, they have a fun college experience. And right now, Kirby's been able to get a lot of guys there, and maybe Mike White will partner up with Kirby Smart and recruit together, and that may help keep some of those basketball players in Georgia, because, like you said, Georgia, you just add the 3 players we just mentioned to Georgia. If they had kept just Wheeler and Johnson, they would have been a much better team. But they had guys. I think every starter left last year, right? Georgia.
Right.
That's crazy to think. I mean, that would be like this year's basketball team in Alabama, who you think is going to be the core of your team returning, all deciding to go into the transfer portal. But anyway, that's an interesting thought. And one other thing, circling back, Mason, remember we were talking about the guards not liking each other. Virgil Williams mentioned something I think we may have actually been off air when he mentioned it about, or he may have just typed it in on chat. But do you think the fact that Shackelford was gonna leave the team, gonna transfer, and then Nate Oates talked him back? Did he come back with promises? Did he come back with conditions, and that didn't set well potentially with the other teams, other players?
It's a possibility.
I
I mean,
had
I
I had
think
not thought,
really anything is possible in this situation.
because there's something weird with Alabama. It's just you can't figure it out, because this team could have and should have been better, as as good as last year's team. When you see what they do when they do it right, this team played at a higher level than last year's team when they did it right against the big opponents. They played as well or better than last year's team, but they're so inconsistent. So who knows? But anyway, let's pull them on, cheer them on into the March Madness. That's what they call it, March Madness. It's already started a little bit. Maybe we can get on one of them Texas A&M type runs, coming off of 3 consecutive losses to end the year. Maybe, just maybe, that pushes this team together and they make a nice run into the tournament. Like to see it. Wouldn't be surprised if I saw it, but just as likely to see them bounced in round 1. We'll continue the conversation. We'll flip back over to a little football. Like to get you in on the conversation. 205-342-9904.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard, right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service, they've got the big brands you know and trust. Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East in Northport on Lurleen Wallace Boulevard. Check out the website TuscaloosaTireandService.com.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard has led to a lot of firsts for me. It paid for me to be the first person in my family to go to school. That education got me to the first date at my dream job, which I can still hold while I serve part-time. That job and the home loan benefits I got from the Army National Guard helped me buy my first house. I also know that I will be one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me.
Sponsored by the Alabama Army National Guard. Aired by the Alabama Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials: a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of mentoring? Have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Well, we've had one practice, so I don't know how I can assess anybody's progress from last year to this year. I know they worked hard in the off season. I think they're in better condition. I think they've improved their bodies. Damian George had a really good off season. So I think, we're encouraged by the progress that he makes, whether he plays guard or tackle. We're going to, see if Javion Cohen should be a guard or a tackle. We'll see if J.C. Latham should be a guard or a tackle, Kendall Randolph to be a tackle. Tommy Brockemeyer has, got a chance to compete at the position. He was kind of in and out a little bit, fighting some injury things in the offseason, but we think that, he'll be able to make progress in the spring. So there's a lot of competition at the position. And, quite frankly, we're moving a lot of guys around to try to see how we can get the best 5 guys out there to play. So, I'm not disappointed in the progress that any of them make at this point.
That's Coach Nick Saban talking about the O-line. Curtis Lewis said if he was the coach for the day, that's the group he would be in. And Coach Wolford, he sounds like, Mason, he has his hands full. The new addition to the Alabama coaching staff from the Kentucky Wildcats that will be responsible for putting together the offensive line. I think without a doubt, this is one of the biggest areas of improvement. Nick Saban pointed out in his first, and we'll dig deeper into this, probably just focusing on the coaches themselves at some point during the spring. But Coach Saban saying that the 4 coaches that they brought in, Mason, they brought in because of self-scouting in areas they needed to improve, and no area needed improving more than the offensive line. And as you listen to Coach Saban there, it looks like they're going to be doing a lot of moving around. If you look at the team, and doesn't look like there's anything really settled in terms of this offensive line. Of course, one of the injuries that I had used in the offseason as part of my talking points that may compete for a position, that's not going to happen. And that's Dalcourt out for spring ball. And when you look at Darren Dalcourt, I said that, hey, Darren Dalcourt may be moved to left guard, and Javion Cohen may be kicked out to left tackle. It looked like I was correct in part of that. As Nick Saban said, we're going to see if Javion Cohen should be a guard or a tackle. Mason, I actually will not be shocked if Javion Cohen is a starting left tackle. For one, the guy. Do you remember? Now, part of that could be that he was playing beside the potential number 1 overall pick, and it's always easier to play beside a great player. But just off the bat, was he one of the quietest, best players Alabama's had on their offensive line in a while? We never called his name. He never did anything wrong. I don't know if he did anything great, but he never did anything wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he was perfectly solid last year. I mean, I think there were some times where he struggled, but overall, like compared to you look at Chris Owens, you look at Darian Dalcourt, you look at Emil Ekiyor, like compared to those three guys on the right side playing at the center position, you didn't hear Javian Cohen's name making mistakes much.
Right. And a lot of times when he got into trouble, it was when he had to switch off. Like when Dalcourt was at center, uh, I remember times where him and Dalcourt didn't necessarily communicate. But that seemed to have gone away when McLaughlin came in. It seemed like they got better on the switch and who's going to take who and et cetera. So I will not be surprised to see him kicked out to that left tackle position because of his experience, his length. He's a very athletic looking guard. And if he's not the tackle, then the center of Alabama's offensive line, meaning the center and the two guards, should be really, really solid. And may help us with the I hate to say it, but what's name loves to run the ball up the middle, um, O'Brien. So that may make us even better leaving him there based on the way the running back coach likes to run the ball. I was watching, listen to a Boomer Sison show, and I just drew a blank on his name. He's a 40-year-old offensive lineman for the Los Angeles Raiders, played at LSU, drafted by the Bengals, know everything but his name. Will something. Wilfred. You know what I'm talking about? He was a starting tackle. Do what now?
Andrew Whitworth.
Whitworth, that's it. Whitworth. He played guard in college. I don't know if you knew that. And was drafted as a guard. Was drafted into the league as a guard, and he talked about getting his body a little more athletic. And they said, well, what's the difference between playing guard and tackle? And he said, playing guard, you just got that, couple 2 or 3 yards that you have to play. He said playing left tackle is like playing cornerback. You're out there on an island. And that's why those guys have to be so much more athletic. And I don't know that, J.C. Latham came in as a big time recruit.
That's a guy that I'm a big fan of.
I'm a big fan of his as well, but I'm not sure. Did you see an overly athletic guy when you saw him in this year, or just a really good? I thought he was a good football player. I'm surprised he didn't play more, but I didn't get the sense like we've gotten in times past with Evan Neal. Even when Evan Neal was at right tackle, you could see, man, this guy is athletic. Cam Robinson. I didn't see that type of athlete in J.C. Latham, but it may be just because we didn't see him in that type of role enough.
Yeah, I mean, we really only got to see him last year, at the guard position. I think he filled in for,
Right.
it was a Bilecki, or he filled in at right
Yep.
guard.
Yep.
I think it was Cincinnati. We got to see him a pretty good bit, but I think we saw some flashes from him. I think we also saw some flashes of him, having his feet being a little slow, but I think that just kind of comes with the territory. He was only a freshman last year. He's going to have time to develop this year, and I certainly think he could make a push for that, for either the left tackle or the left guard position if they decide to move Javian Cohen out. I think either of those guys, though, I think our left side of the line, it could be it could be Latham and Cohen for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at. You think about Latham. I think he'll, at worst case, I think he'll be the right tackle potentially. At worst case.
What do you think about a guy? What do you think about Amari Kite?
Well, he's one of the guys that I had listed as a potential guy. Here's the names I have right now as guys that potentially could be in there: Amari Kite, Damian George Jr., Javion Cohen, J.C. Latham, Tommy Brockermeyer, and Tyler Booker. And then, of course, based on what Nick Saban said, a guy that's going to get a legit shot is Kendall Randolph. So I'll go back to your specific question. He has Amari Kite. Did you notice that when was it the Georgia game or the Cincinnati game? I think it was the Cincinnati game when Owen went out. That Amari Kite was the guy that came in.
Yeah, I
They
thought
they
he
they,
did
they
look long, but he thought he played decent.
right. That's what I'm saying. They didn't go. That something happened that they put him in front of George. So he must have progressed as the season went along because he was not. He was at least the third option um, early in the season and even late in the season. But in the playoffs, he was the guy that they went to. So you have to give some credence to that as an opportunity. And this is what the part you have to love when we're talking about this offensive line, Mason, is there's a new sheriff in town. And what I mean by that is Wolford, the new coach, all of these guys are competing now. When Nick Saban is saying what he's saying, when he makes the statement, "Hey, we're going to see if Damian George can be a guard or a tackle. We can see if Javian Cohen can be a guard or a tackle. J.C. Latham could be a guard or a tackle. Kendall Randolph." And he says in audio, we will give him a chance to win the job at offensive tackle before we just relegate him to being a blocking tight end. Tommy Brockermeyer has a good chance at the position. That tells me that the new coach kind of blew up the offensive line and said, nobody has a position. You all need to work for what you're going to get. And I think this is a very interesting. What was your concern with Damian George as the right tackle?
I just thought when we saw him play last year, he really struggled. He
was a little
slow. He looked a bit lost out there. I thought he just had a hard time.
He was slow. And when you're slow, it makes everything else like if a guy rushed him upfield, he had slow feet, right? So they could get around him. When a guy changed directions, he had slow feet. So the guy could fake upfield because he was really concerned with that. And then he would open up a huge gap inside and the guy could fall back up underneath. Run blocking, I thought he was the best one, right? I thought if he just could line up and just fire off. But do you know that he came to college at 16? Even though this is going into his third year, I think he's 19 years old, maybe about to be turned 20. But he's really, really young. And what did Nick?
I had no idea.
Yeah, we can look up his exact date, but I remember when he committed, he was 16. So he may have been 17 by the time he enrolled, but he was 16 when he committed to come play at Alabama. Very, very young. But number two is what did Nick Saban say? He had a lot of baby fat. That's what I used to think about him. When you see him, he's just kind of a big boy. But Nick Saban specifically said he had a great offseason. You know what that means? It probably means his body type changed. He lost weight. Maybe he got quicker with his feet. Maybe his hands got better. But something happened with Damian George that this is what it says when it says, well, we've had one practice, so I don't know how I can assess anybody's progress from last year to this year. Okay, I can't assess anybody's progress, right? I know they've worked hard in the offseason. I think they're in better condition. I think they've improved their bodies. He kept saying they. And then he goes, I mean, Damian George had a really good offseason. You see what I'm saying? Like that tells you that something about him, like he was talking about the offensive line, and then he goes, I mean, Damian George had a really good offseason. So just maybe that concern that we had, Mason, around those slow feet, heavy feet, whatever you have, maybe Damian George lost some weight, dropped some weight, and got that corrected. But this O line is going to be one that I watch closely, and I want to ask you. We're going to go to break here. Who do you have as your starting five right now? If you felt like you had to run them out there, and of course we don't know anything about what they look like, just going off of the day one. Coming back on the other side, I'll get your starting five. I'll give my starting five as well. You listen to the Martin Houston Show. If you want to give your starting five, give us a call at 205-342-9904. The Taco Casa hotline open for business, or you can type your starting five on any of our chat outlets. You listen to the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9, brought to the great folks over at Alabama One. Alabama One has a great promotion going on where it can help slow the impact of the interest rates on your finances, along with everything else that's impacting your finances. Go ahead and transfer that high interest debt balance to a low interest credit card, and Alabama One can help you with that. Go to alabama1.org.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning, senseless. That's what Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox is calling the drive-by shooting death of a 2-year-old and a man in his 20s near West End Freeman Park late Sunday afternoon. The shooting took place in Council District 1, and Councilman Matt Wilson is angry and sad. He says there is no excuse for anything like that happening. The male was pronounced dead at the scene. The child died overnight at PCH. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free. I'm Don Hartley. Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curve series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Carving at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, LLC.
Free battery testing, free battery charging, and replacing batteries that fit your needs. That's what makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone. AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination.
Cody Johnson. As close as you can, till you can. Cody Johnson live in concert with special guests Easton Corbin and Ian Munsick. Friday, March 25th at the Tuscaloosa Amphitheater. 'Cause I'm on my way. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Cody Johnson with Easton Corbin and Ian Munsick live in concert. Get more info at CodyJohnsonMusic.com. Part of the Coca-Cola Concert Series, produced by Red Mountain Entertainment.
I need 4 more of the biscuit carnitas, 2 burnt end platters, 3.
The kitchen at Kai's Barbecue is firing on all cylinders.
Greg, help me bring this to the pickup counter.
He needs food runners who can hit the ground quickly.
86 on the chicken, and we're short staffed. Let's pick it up.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Next on the luge, James Cooper.
James, you can't luge.
I didn't think I could get a credit card either, but Credit Karma showed me cards that I'm most likely to get approved for. That's Karma Confidence.
I got a card too, James. Members who shop on Credit Karma get approved 66% more. That doesn't mean you can luge.
Lose it or leave it, baby.
Karma Confidence. Great for credit cards, not so great for the luge. Member approval rates in 2021, 66% higher than 2020 CFPB national average. Approval not guaranteed.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the 2-minute warning of the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. Man, we got a lot to talk about, and we got all week to do it. Spring break is upon us at the campus at the University of Alabama, but Alabama did roll out practice on Friday, so we did get some audio from Coach Nick Saban. He brought several key insights, and of course, that wasn't the only big news that broke in football. We'll talk about that. We got a caller, so let me go ahead and get to the caller, and then we'll come back and look at that O-line. But Curtis Moore, you're in with the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, good morning, fellas. Hey, I'll be real quick because I know it's almost the hour.
You're fine.
Okay. Hey, just a prediction that I was commenting on earlier. Do you think Dalcourt will be here next year? Because this is a setback. I mean, Seth did his thing and then in the season last season, and I don't know.
It very well could be one of those types of things where he's injured, he loses his spot, but the problem is not just losing his spot, is that why you're not able, because really this is when you really compete for a position. You get spring ball and then you get a couple of weeks in the summer. And based on what happens in the spring right now, uh, you know, McLaughlin could be pushed by somebody. You know what I mean? Like one of these other guys could come in and push even for the center position. Now all of a sudden, Dalcourt has to come back and not just beat out McLaughlin, but beat out a guy that's pushing the guy that beat him out. So you're right. In a typical situation in the old days, I would have said no. But with this new transfer portal, Curtis, I would say yes. It's very possible that could happen, because now you don't get to come back and fight for your job. The guy McLaughlin had taken the lead based on the way he played the last couple of games, but you also had 11, 12 games of film, and you get to come into the spring and compete for your job. But now you don't, so he pulls away from you even more.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. He doesn't have much eligibility either. I think he's a senior, isn't he?
Who?
He's going to be a senior, right? Dalcourt?
I don't think so. I think he may be a redshirt a junior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll check that for you. But hey, while I'm checking that, what do you think about down in Florida? What are they saying about Tom Brady? I saw you put that up. Tom Brady deciding to jump back out on the.
They're getting on my nerves. Tired seeing him personally, Martin. I'm just tired of it, man.
Yeah.
I'm over him, man. I thought we saw last of him, and I'm a Falcons fan, so
yeah.
Of course, against them. But the good thing about living down here, I get to go to the game, go to the Falcons game every year, because that's our rival. So, but I'm just tired of seeing him, though.
Yeah. And on the Darren Dalcourt, he was a class of 2019. So technically they may have him listed as a senior, fourth year. But thanks to COVID, I think he actually could have 2 years left. He was 19, 20, 21 would be his 3 years. He was part of the 19 class. So is what is showing on 247.
How about the Ja'Cory Brooks thing? What do you think about that? I think he'll be okay though.
I think he'll be fine. In his case, I don't think it necessarily hurts him. It doesn't help him though, if that makes sense. I don't think he had a chance to come in and establish himself as what's his name's go-to guy. And I think that him being out may give Burton an opportunity to do that more so than it would have been otherwise. So I think that's a big thing.
Maybe more playing time. They're more, for Hall and Trayshawn Holden too. I was thinking those two guys, probably be the front runners with Brooks out. I don't know.
Yeah, well, but I think in that sense, I think it's a good thing for Bama, not a good thing for Brooks. I think Brooks not being there, I don't think he's going to lose any of his, clout and expectations. But it's a chance for Holden and Hall to step up and make a case that they can be reliable and counted on. Because Nick Saban spoke to him specifically in the offseason that they didn't do what they needed to do in practice. So it may be a good thing from that sense. So, all right, man. Hey, listen.
That's all I got.
Appreciate it.
Hey, I'm out of here. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. And Mason and I will give you guys our starting lineup on tomorrow. Mason, by the way, Damian George was part of the 2020 class. He's a junior, but he's 19 years old. According to 247 Sports, he's 19. So I knew he was a youngster, committed in 2019 at 16. So he sits at 19 years old right now. So his body probably did change a lot uh, as he got to work out more and more. So, but we'll talk about more. Mason and I'll be back tomorrow. We hope that you'll be back with us tomorrow as well, right here on the Martin Houston Show. We'll kick things off at 6 a.m. Stay tuned for great radio all day long right here on Tide 100.9. This is the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team. And thanks to all the callers, listeners, followers, chatters, and thanks to Mason for pressing all the right buttons. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide, guys, and have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.